Did you hear about DeepSeek's latest AI breakthrough? It's
Oh,
shaking
yeah,
up the entire AI industry.
absolutely. I mean, a Chinese startup coming out of nowhere and rivaling the big players?
Exactly. They've developed an AI model that's on par with OpenAI's GPT models, but
No
at a
way.
fraction of the cost.
That's incredible. How did they manage to do that?
Well, they reportedly trained their model for just around $6 million dollars compared to the hundreds of
Seriously?
millions others are spending.
That's a game changer. So, what's their secret?
They used innovative training techniques and less powerful hardware due to US sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
Necessity really is the mother of invention.
So, you're saying the export restrictions actually push them to innovate?
Exactly. They couldn't access the latest NVIDIA chips,
Right.
so they optimized their model to work efficiently with what they had.
Wow, that's impressive. And it's open source too, right?
Yes, they've made their model fully open source,
Interesting.
which means developers worldwide can build upon it.
That's a stark contrast to OpenAI's more closed approach.
Precisely, it's sparking a debate about open source versus proprietary models.
Yeah,
And it's got US tech giants rethinking their strategies.
I heard even President Trump called it a wake up call for American industry.
He did. He emphasized the need for the US to stay competitive in AI. It's
Mm-hmm.
not every day you see that level of concern.
And what about the stock market impact? I heard Nvidia took a hit.
Yeah, Nvidia's market value dropped significantly, nearly
Ouch.
600 billion wiped off in a single day.
That's massive. All because DeepSeek used fewer or less advanced chips.
Exactly. Investors are worried that if you can create top-notch AI without the latest hardware, demand for
Right.
high-end chips might decline.
Makes sense. So, how are companies like OpenAI reacting?
Sam Altman praised DeepSeek's model, calling it impressive.
Really?
But he also stated that OpenAI plans to deliver even better models.
Sounds like healthy competition is brewing.
Definitely. And competition often drives innovation forward.
Yep.
It's exciting to see where this will lead.
But are there concerns about censorship or data privacy with DeepSeek's AI?
Good point. Since it's a Chinese company, their
Right?
AI might adhere to China's strict regulations, including content censorship.
So, users might get filtered or biased responses on sensitive topics?
Exactly. If you ask about politically sensitive issues, the AI might avoid or deflect the question. That's something users need to be aware of.
That could be a drawback for global users seeking unbiased information.
True, but since it's open source, developers can modify it,
Oh, yeah,
potentially mitigating some of those concerns.
that's reassuring. So, what does this mean for the future of AI development?
I think it signifies a shift towards more efficient and accessible AI models.
Absolutely.
Lowering the barriers to entry could spur innovation worldwide.
And maybe even help smaller companies compete with tech giants.
Exactly. It's democratizing AI in a way,
Yeah,
but it also raises questions about security and regulation.
right. With more players in the game, how do we ensure ethical use of AI?
That's a challenge we'll need to address. Balancing
Definitely.
innovation with responsibility is key.
You know, this reminds me of the open source movement in software development.
Exactly. Open source has led to rapid advancements in software,
Mm-hmm.
and we're seeing a similar pattern with AI now.
But do you think US companies will open source their models too?
Well, Meta has been a proponent of open source with their Llama models.
True.
Maybe others will follow suit to stay competitive.
It's possible. Competition can drive unexpected changes.
Absolutely. And with innovations like DeepSeek's model,
Yeah,
the whole AI landscape might shift faster than we anticipated.
but let's not forget about the potential risks.
Agreed. Rapid advancement without proper oversight can be dangerous. We
Right.
need to ensure AI development remains ethical and secure.
So, what's the takeaway from all this?
I think the key is that the AI race is intensifying and innovations can come from anywhere, not just Silicon Valley.
That's a good point. It emphasizes the need for global collaboration and thoughtful regulation.
Exactly. And perhaps this competition will lead to better AI for everyone. We just have to
Hopefully.
navigate the challenges wisely.
Well, it's certainly an exciting time in the world of AI.
Definitely can't wait to see what happens next. Exactly. DeepSeek, the Chinese AI startup that's taking Silicon Valley by storm.
Yeah, I've been hearing so much about them. So, what's making DeepSeek such a big deal?
Well, they just released an AI model, DeepSeek R1, that rivals OpenAI's GPT models, but was developed at a fraction of the cost, just around $6 million.
Wait, seriously? That's
Yeah,
peanuts compared to the billions other companies are spending.
precisely, and that's causing
Wow.
quite a stir in the industry.
No kidding. So, how did they manage to pull that off?
They leveraged innovative training techniques and used less powerful chips due to export restrictions. It forced them to be more efficient.
So, limitations actually push them to innovate? That's
Exactly.
ironic, isn't it?
It is, and their model is fully open source, which is a big contrast to the more closed approaches of some US companies.
That's interesting. Open source models can really accelerate development globally.
Absolutely. Developers worldwide can now build upon DeepSeek's model, which could democratize AI even more.
But aren't there concerns about data privacy and censorship with a model coming from China?
That's a valid point. The DeepSeek app does have censorship on certain topics.
Right?
However, since the model is open source, when developers use it independently, they can modify it as needed.
So, the censorship is in the app but not inherent in the model itself?
Exactly. When self-hosted, the model doesn't have those restrictions.
Got it. But still, there's a level of caution when it comes to technology from a geopolitical rival.
You're right. Trust and security are big concerns, but the open source nature allows for transparency and scrutiny.
That's reassuring. So, how have US tech giants reacted to DeepSeek's emergence?
Well, it's been a mix of admiration and urgency. Sam Altman from OpenAI called DeepSeek R1 impressive.
I bet it's making them rethink their strategies.
Definitely. And even President Trump mentioned that it's a wake-up call for US industries to stay competitive.
Wow, when politicians are talking about it, you know it's big.
Absolutely.
So, what does this mean for the future of AI?
I think it signifies a shift toward more global competition and perhaps more cost-effective AI development.
And maybe a move towards open sourcing more models?
That's possible. Companies might see the benefits in collaboration to advance the field.
But do you think US companies will actually open source their models?
It's hard to say. They have to balance proprietary advantages with the potential gains from openness.
True. And with DeepSeek lowering the cost barrier, smaller players might enter the scene.
Exactly. It could democratize AI development even further.
But what about the impact on jobs and the economy? Cheaper AI could accelerate automation.
That's a concern. Automation could disrupt industries faster, impacting employment.
So, society needs to prepare for these changes sooner than anticipated.
Absolutely. It's crucial to have conversations about reskilling and adapting to an AI-driven world.
Couldn't agree more. So, in the end, DeepSeek's rise is both exciting and a bit daunting. Wait, DeepSeek? What's going on?
So, DeepSeek is this Chinese startup that managed to create an AI model called R1 that's like on par with OpenAI's GPT models.
Seriously?
But they did it for just $6 million.
No way. How did they pull that off?
Exactly. That's what's blowing everyone's minds. They used less powerful hardware due to US export controls and still achieved top-tier performance.
That's incredible. So they're competing with the big players at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, and get this. Their model is open source, making it accessible to everyone,
Wow.
unlike some of the proprietary models out there.
That's a game changer. But aren't there concerns about using a Chinese AI model?
Well, yeah, there are definitely worries about data privacy and censorship, especially since their app filters out politically sensitive topics.
So can we trust it? I mean, given the censorship and potential government influence.
It's complicated. The app itself is censored, but since it's open source, developers can modify it and remove those restrictions.
That makes sense, but still, the US tech giants must be pretty concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Companies like Nvidia saw their stock plummet because investors are worried about the competition.
Do you think this will push US companies to innovate faster?
I think so. This could be the wake-up call they needed to rethink their strategies and maybe focus on efficiency.
But didn't US export controls aim to slow down China's AI progress?
Ironically, yeah, but it seems to have backfired, forcing DeepSeek to innovate with less powerful hardware.
Are you sure it's backfired? Maybe the export controls still limited their capabilities.
Well, they managed to achieve top performance despite the limitations, so it seems they found a way around it.
It's like when you impose a challenge and they rise above it.
Exactly. Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Absolutely.
They're proving that you don't need billions to create cutting-edge AI.
That's impressive. But what about Sam Altman and OpenAI? How are they responding?
Well, Sam Altman acknowledged DeepSeek's achievements, calling it impressive, but he also mentioned that OpenAI plans to release even better models.
So the competition is heating up. Do you think OpenAI will open source their models?
That's a tough one. They might consider it, but proprietary models have their advantages, especially in terms of control and monetization.
But if DeepSeek is offering similar performance for a fraction of the cost, won't that pressure them?
Definitely. They might need to rethink their pricing and accessibility or risk losing market share.
This reminds me of how open source software disrupted proprietary companies in the past.
Exactly. It's like when Linux challenged Windows offering a free
Right.
alternative.
But Windows still dominates because of user friendliness and support.
True, so maybe there's room for both approaches catering
Perhaps.
to different users.
But here's a thought. With DeepSeek's rise, could this widen the AI gap between the US and China?
It's possible. If the US doesn't adapt, China could take the lead in AI innovation, changing the global
That would
tech
be
landscape.
significant. But there are geopolitical concerns too, right?
Definitely. Trust issues, data privacy, and national security concerns could affect how
Right.
widely DeepSeek's tech is adopted.
So, should we be excited or worried about this development?
Maybe a bit of both. It's exciting to see innovation push boundaries, but we need to be cautious about unintended consequences.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds.
Absolutely. The AI race just got a lot more competitive, and that's bound to
Agreed.
accelerate advancements.
So, in the end, competition might benefit everyone, even if it shakes things up.
That's the hope. As long as we manage the risks responsibly, we could see
Yes.
amazing progress.
That's incredible. OpenAI spent billions.
Exactly. It's like they found a secret shortcut to AI development without breaking the bank.
That's insane. How did they manage that?
They couldn't access the latest NVIDIA chips due to US sanctions, so they had to get creative.
Right.
They optimized their algorithms and training methods.
So, necessity really is the mother of invention.
Exactly, and here's the kicker. They made their model open source.
No way. So, anyone can download and use it?
Yep, developers can modify it, fine-tune it, and build their own applications.
That's huge. But aren't there concerns about censorship and data privacy?
Well, the DeepSeek app does filter out topics like Tiananmen Square and critiques of the government. That's definitely a concern.
Oh. So even if the model is open source, isn't there a risk of hidden biases or backdoors?
That's a valid point. While open source code allows for transparency, not everyone can audit it thoroughly.
Exactly. So how do we navigate that trust issue?
I think it's important for the global developer community to collaborate on auditing and improving the model.
But do you think users will embrace it despite these concerns?
Well, the app became the most downloaded free app in the US, surpassing ChatGPT. That's pretty
Wow.
telling.
So the performance is drawing people in.
Exactly. And with its lower costs, it could democratize AI access.
That's exciting. But what does this mean for companies like NVIDIA?
Their stock took a hit because DeepSeek showed you don't need the most advanced chips to build powerful AI models.
Ouch.
That's a wake-up call.
And how has OpenAI responded?
Sam Altman acknowledged DeepSeek's achievement, but said OpenAI will continue to push forward with even better models.
Well,
Competition is heating up.
do you think this will escalate the AI race between the US and China?
It certainly could. Former President Trump called it a wake-up call for US industries to stay competitive.
Interesting. But isn't increased competition good for innovation?
Absolutely. It can lead to better technology and lower costs.
True. But there's also the issue of AI being used unethically. How do we address that?
It's crucial to establish international standards and ethical guidelines for AI development and use.
Definitely. So where does this leave smaller companies and startups?
With open source models like DeepSeek's, they might have more opportunities to compete and innovate.
That's promising. But do you think big tech will allow that?
They might resist, but the landscape is changing. Technology is becoming more accessible.
Can't stop progress. By the way, do you trust using AI models from China?
Honestly, we need to be cautious. There are valid concerns about data privacy and censorship.
I agree. So should we stick with US-made models?
Not necessarily. We should evaluate each model on its merits and ensure proper safeguards are in place.
Fair point. In the end, it's about responsible use and oversight.
Exactly. It's like handling a powerful tool. We need to use it wisely.
Well said. So do you think AI will replace jobs soon?
Some roles might be automated, but new opportunities will emerge. It's like when, the internet revolutionized industries. It's a cycle of change.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time to be in tech.
Definitely. We just need to stay informed and adaptable.
Absolutely. Maybe this competition will push everyone to innovate faster.
That's the hope. And with more minds working on AI, we could see breakthroughs we haven't even imagined yet.
Exactly. But we also have to consider the ethical implications.
True. It's like we're holding a double-edged sword. We have to handle it carefully.
Couldn't agree more. So, are you planning to experiment with DeepSeek's model?
I'm curious, but I'll probably wait until it's been vetted more thoroughly.
Makes sense. Well, here's to hoping we strike the right balance between innovation and responsibility.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time, and we have to make the most of it.
Indeed. How did they pull that off?
They're using fewer resources, less advanced hardware, and some innovative training techniques. It's like they're
That's
rewriting
insane.
the rules.
That's incredible. But doesn't that challenge everything we thought about AI development costs?
Exactly. Yeah, it totally flips the script. And here's the kicker, they've made their model open source.
Open source, unlike
Yep.
OpenAI, which keeps everything proprietary.
Right? It's opening up AI development to a broader community.
But aren't there concerns about data privacy and censorship?
Well,
Being a Chinese company, that is?
true, there are reports that their app censors topics like Tiananmen Square, Taiwan's independence,
Yeah, that's a bit worrying. Users
Yeah.
need to be aware of potential biases.
Definitely. But since it's open source, developers can tweak it, remove those restrictions.
That's a good point. But do you think people will trust it? I mean, given the geopolitical tensions and all.
It's complicated. On
It
one
is.
hand, the tech community is excited about the innovation. On the other, there's skepticism.
I guess this puts US companies in a tight spot.
Exactly. Even Donald Trump called it a wake-up call for American industries.
Yeah, I saw that. And didn't Nvidia's stock take a massive hit because of this?
Well, they reportedly lost like 600 billion in market value.
Wait, 600 billion? Are you sure about that? That seems like an enormous amount.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I think Nvidia's total market cap isn't even that high. Maybe you mean $60 billion.
Oh, you know what? You might be right. I must have
Yeah.
misread. Thanks for catching that.
No worries. Still, it's a significant hit regardless.
Right? It shows how the industry is reacting.
So, do you think this will push US companies to innovate more efficiently?
It has to. This shows that massive budgets aren't the only way to advance AI.
Exactly. Maybe this could democratize AI development, letting smaller players enter the field.
That's the hope. But it also raises questions about the global AI race.
Yeah, like how the US will respond. Will they invest more or change strategies?
Trump did announce a $500 billion project to build AI infrastructure.
Right, but is throwing more money at it the solution?
Good question. That's debatable. Perhaps focusing on efficiency and innovation is more crucial.
And maybe embracing open source approaches could help accelerate progress.
Definitely. Meta, for instance, has been advocating for more open source AI models.
But isn't there a risk with open source AI, especially concerning regulation and safety?
Yes, balancing openness with safety is a major challenge.
Especially when considering potential misuse or even geopolitical implications.
Exactly. DeepSeek's rise is bringing these issues to the forefront.
You know, it's fascinating and a bit unsettling how quickly the AI landscape is changing.
Yeah, it's like we're accelerating toward an AI future faster than we thought.
But with that comes uncertainty and potential risks.
True, but also incredible opportunities for innovation and collaboration.
So, where does this leave us? Are we witnessing a paradigm shift in AI development?
I think so. The next few years could redefine who leads in AI and how it's developed.
It's exciting, but also challenges our current approaches.
Absolutely. It might be time for the US to reconsider strategies, maybe focus less on resource intensive models and more on efficiency.
And perhaps be more open to collaboration and open source models.
That could foster innovation and keep the US competitive in the global AI race.
You know, this reminds me of the space race in a way.
Yeah, but this time it's an AI race and the stakes are
Right.
just as high.
Do you think regulation will play a big role moving forward?
Definitely. Finding the right balance between encouraging innovation and ensuring safety will be key.
Well, one thing's for sure, the AI world just got a lot more interesting.
Couldn't agree more. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all unfolds.
And the fact that they're a Chinese company makes it even more, significant.
Right? It's showing that China is really stepping up in the AI game. They've leapfrogged over some of the constraints, especially with the US sanctions on advanced chips.
Yeah, they couldn't get their hands on the latest NVIDIA chips, so they innovated with what they had. That's impressive.
Absolutely. Necessity breeds innovation, right? They optimize their models to run efficiently on less powerful hardware.
It's a classic underdog story. But do you think this poses a real threat to US tech giants?
Well, it's certainly shaking things up. I mean, when DeepSeek's model was announced, NVIDIA's market value took a huge hit. Almost $600 billion wiped off in a single day.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah, and even President Trump weighed in, calling it a wake-up call for American industries. He's urging them to, refocus and compete more aggressively.
Right? But some might argue that competition is good. It pushes everyone to innovate faster.
Exactly. And Sam Altman from OpenAI even praised DeepSeek's model, saying it was impressive, especially given the cost.
But there's also the issue of open source versus proprietary models. DeepSeek is fully open source, while OpenAI has become more closed off lately.
Yeah, that's a big point. DeepSeek's open source approach allows developers worldwide to access and improve upon their model. It's democratizing AI in a way.
But do you think that's entirely positive? I mean, there are concerns about security and control when everything is open source.
That's a fair point. Open source can lead to rapid innovation, but it also raises questions about censorship and data security, especially since DeepSeek is from China.
Right? There have been reports that the DeepSeek app censors certain topics like Tiananmen Square or Taiwan's status.
Yeah, and while the model itself is open source and can be modified, the app provided by DeepSeek does have those restrictions.
So for users, that could be a concern. How much can we trust an AI model that might have built-in biases or censorship?
Exactly. And it's not just about censorship. There's also the question of data privacy. Where is all this user data going?
Yeah, that's important. But to be fair, data privacy is a concern with any AI model, not just those from China.
True, but geopolitical tensions add another layer to it. Companies and governments are wary of technology that could be influenced by rival nations.
And speaking of governments, Trump's announcement of a $500 billion investment into AI infrastructure is quite the counter move.
Definitely. It's like the AI race is the new space race. Both countries are pouring resources into developing superior AI technologies.
But here's an interesting thought. With DeepSeek proving that high-quality AI can be developed at a fraction of the cost, will this democratize AI development globally?
It could. Lowering the barrier to entry means more startups and smaller countries might get into the game. Innovation could come from anywhere.
Yeah, but that also means increased competition for established tech giants. They might have to rethink their strategies.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll see more collaboration, more openness, or perhaps more focus on efficiency rather than just throwing money at the problem.
Right? But I wonder, with all these advancements, are we moving too fast? I mean, even AI experts are getting a bit freaked out about how quickly things are progressing.
Yeah, the pace is astounding. Some predict we'll reach artificial general intelligence ASI by 2027. That's both exciting and a bit unsettling.
It is, and with AI models starting to learn from other AIs, there's a potential for exponential growth in capabilities.
Exactly. And that raises concerns about control, ethics, and the future of jobs, especially with autonomous agents performing complex tasks.
The so-called automation cliff. By 2025, we might see a significant reduction in office and admin work due to AI automation.
Right. Companies will need to adapt, maybe shifting human roles towards overseeing AI systems rather than performing the tasks themselves.
But that also means retraining and rethinking our approach to work. Are we prepared for that kind of shift?
Honestly, I don't think we are, not entirely. There's a lot of catching up to do in education and policy to handle these rapid changes.
Agreed. And on the policy front, there's the debate on regulation. Should AI be open source, or do we need stricter controls to prevent misuse?
It's a tough balance. Open source promotes innovation, but it can also lead to security risks. Stricter controls might stifle progress, but ensure safety.
Exactly. And with DeepSeek's rise, countries like the US and those in Europe might need to reassess their strategies. Perhaps, as you said, focus more on efficiency and less on massive spending.
Yeah, and maybe collaborate more internationally. After all, AI development affects everyone globally. We could benefit from shared standards and ethical guidelines.
That's a hopeful perspective, but do you think geopolitical tensions will allow for that level of cooperation?
It's hard to say. Tensions might actually increase competition. But sometimes, competition can drive innovation in a positive way.
True, but we need to ensure that in the race to advance AI, we don't overlook the ethical implications and the potential impact on society.
Absolutely, it's not just about who gets there first, but how we manage the technology responsibly.
And that includes addressing biases in AI models, ensuring data privacy, and preparing the workforce for changes.
Exactly. And maybe DeepSeek's emergence is a catalyst for us to, take these issues more seriously.
Yeah, perhaps it's the wake-up call we needed, not just for the industry, but for policymakers and educators as well.
Right, it's an exciting time, but also one that requires careful consideration.
Definitely. Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. I'm curious to see how things unfold in the next few years.
Same here. Thanks for diving into this topic with me.
Anytime. Let's keep an eye on DeepSeek and see where this AI journey takes us.
Absolutely. Until next time.